Marhaba and welcome to another Suhoor Bite. I am Fawzi Musmar and today I'll be continuing the countdown of my favorite games of all time. Today is number 4 and it is Resident Evil. Yes, the original Resident Evil is one of the most important video games for me of all time. Resident Evil was the game in which I discovered what game design really meant. So it has a very interesting story for me and my journey to becoming a game developer. See, I wanted to be a game developer ever since I was, 3, when I first played the Space Invaders. I was like, I need to make games. I don't know how. I am obsessed with games. I want to make games. But then I always said like I wanted to be a game designer, but I didn't really understand what game design meant. Throughout my junior high, when I finished a game, I used to like write down on a school notebook a strategy guide of how to beat that game. So but with a pen on a notebook, I would write down from start to finish a walkthrough of how to finish that game. And then I give it to the other kids in class to help them finish the game. That was pre-internet days. And then Resident Evil came out, absolutely blew my mind in all sorts of ways. And then I started to write a strategy guide for it. And as I was writing the strategy guide, I would move my character around, move Chris around or something. And then I would trace the map of the mansion as I'm looking at it. So the Spencer mansion, I'm walking around, all right, so there's this room, in this room you find this key, and you use this key to open this door in this other direction and all of that. And then as I'm tracing that mansion, I stopped and thought to myself, I am basically tracing what I'm seeing. But somebody somewhere in Japan just thought of this out of nothing, like they dreamt of this, and then they created it. They came up with all of these things, the mansion, the settings, where the keys are and how those things interact with each other and the puzzles, and they put that thing together, and that is what it means to be a game designer. And that's when I realized that's the best job ever. And I must become a game designer. I was infatuated with it ever since. Resident Evil, the director of Resident Evil, Shinji Mikami, also happens to be my favorite game director, by the way. So from a game design perspective, Shinji Mikami is my all-time favorite game designer. So I want to give him a shout out for that. Resident Evil did so many unprecedented things in the time that it came out. Keep in mind, Resident Evil came out in 96, late 95 as well. So this is a game that's been developed in the very early 90s. And this was used to be a time when platformers was the biggest thing, or playing a game through levels was the standard. You play level 1, you move on to level 2 and all of that. Complete uninterrupted experiences was not that commonplace. And for a game to have that much of a cinematic atmosphere, the amount of creativity in the character creation, the location, the atmosphere, the genuine fright that the game managed to pull together, I think is a landmark in video gaming history, and is probably amongst my favorite gaming memories too. The game put together so many interesting thoughts and ideas behind making you scared, not necessarily by gore, although there's some of that, but also through mechanics in terms of you lose progress if you don't. You have a limited number of saves, so you gotta time your saves, and if you lose, then you're gonna start from a different place. You have very limited ammo. You have very limited everything, and you kind of need to find your way to survive. And I guess that's how they ended up coining the term survival horror. Resident Evil and a lot of the other games really for me are all fantastic video games, and they've changed the face of gaming forever, and I can talk forever about this, so I'm gonna save it. Maybe we'll talk about it more in the podcast, but Resident Evil is definitely amongst my all-time favorite video games. It is number 4 on my list. I'll be coming back with more games as Ramadan progresses, but for the time being, Ramadan Mubarak and salam.